States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we've got a measly half hour to do this in, considering the other night. You may have seen Mr. Markle sent out an email today. He did specify that we have a waiver that's good until December 1st of next year. He also said that they would reduce the amount that they were looking to get in the transfer from $18,900 down to $15,000. And the rest of it would come out of the building maintenance account.
Okay.
And so that's where we are right now. We're at that point right now. We got to kind of make a decision tonight, what we're going to do. And so here he is now. If he has anything to do.
Okay. That does say that, yeah.
So I just explained, you sent out a memo today, basically, to explain that you do have a waiver till December of next year. And you also indicated the willingness to reduce the amount, $15,000 out of the emergency fund.
Taking another look, I think I mentioned to you last week that we were undecided as to whether to contribute $6,000 or $9,000 from existing accounts. And took another look at it, and I think we can do $9,900, which would reduce the request for the reserve 15. Now there's another issue. In fact, it was raised last week by Will, and that is the fuel account. And looking at all the accounts that we have, that's the only one that I think we need to worry about. Essentially, we've added another building. We haven't closed any. And yet the account was also squeezed. So I think we have no choice right now but to go forward, to get the ball done as quickly as possible, get the clerk over here and close that building. I'm going to recommend a course of action to the selectmen next week regarding the EMS building. And I met with the Board of the Council on the Aging today to talk about Scout Hall. And said to them, I've also talked to Senator Brewer's office today about the $300,000. If we get the 300, Senator Brewer is confident that we are going to get it, and it's not going to be cut in this round of cuts that the governor is undertaking. If we get that, if we can get the handicapped bathroom completed, by the way, we have everything ready to go there, including the contract. If we relocate the COA into the front room, which was set aside for selectmen's meetings and other meetings, and they would be there until the COA building itself is completed and ready for occupancy. They told me that they expect that if the money comes through in the month of December, they can be ready to occupy in April or May. I just have to talk to Doug Morrison, before I came over here, talking to him. He said he thinks that's optimistic. He thinks that it's going to be more like June, maybe a little later, maybe in July. I asked the board of the COA to come together today to discuss it with them in preparation for bringing it to the selectmen tonight as an idea to think about, because that would enable us, again, to close another building and save on fuel. And so that's now part of the bigger, this is part of the bigger discussion that we're having.
Yes, through the chairman. How will that affect the heating costs at the where the present COA is located? Because I know they were concerned about the furnace and its ability to last through the winter.
Well, a number of people have commented that the heating plant there is unreliable. And Doug was just telling me that they had a couple of instances last winter. And so another thought that 1978. Because people went home Thursday night and either forgot to or not into the habit of turning back the Thursday night. Reality is, can we train people to do that? Probably yes, but is it better to have a setback system on the wall in those offices that will do it automatically? And certainly pay for itself.
Pay for itself fairly quickly, probably.
Yes, I think so.
I do too.
Especially if you're on somebody.
Yeah, that's, okay,
I do have a couple questions.
okay, yeah.
Mr. Michael. Yep. In moving this COA to Town Hall, where is the folks that are now meeting in the Scout Hall going to meet?
Well, I think it would be either a combination of here or Kevlar, or the selectmen. They're agreeable to it. I don't know. I haven't briefed them yet, so this will be discussed probably later on tonight. But I think those would be the opportunities, the options at that point. Until the COA building is completely occupied, that room there can be available not only to the Board of Selectmen, can be available to the advisory board, and I would know the planning board and the zoning board at a minimum. We can stagger the times, it can be made to work, and we can even put some of those other boards on the cable system, so we can see what the zoning board is doing, for example, the planning board. So, I mean, I think that would be the longer term thing that could be done, let's say sometime in the summertime, after we got control of that room again, outfitted for meetings.
The other question I had was, the 9,900 you're taking from building repair,
Right.
we have that amount of money?
There's two accounts. There's building, repair and maintenance, and there's an account for building expenses.
Yes,
Yeah, building expenses.
And the two accounts together, a total of 91,000. And right now, they're down to 51. We're halfway through, it's about halfway. That's why I felt kind of conservative about taking that money last week. And I thought if we find a way to get some support for this and get it done, gives us some other options.
What happens if we have a maintenance issue and we take the money out of the repair and maintenance? Then we've got another issue that we're going to have to end up facing, and that's inevitable because in past years, that building repair and maintenance has been, just whatever has been allocated has been used. In some cases, they've had to end up doing some transfers.
yeah, but I think we had more in it this year than we've had in the past years.
You put some of the money.
We put some of the money,
from rental
yeah, and I think,
Right.
I think
But that's pretty well,
51,000 is
that's pretty well
probably-
been used up, though. It's-
Oh, yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I still think we have more than the year before. I don't remember what we had the previous year, but, so,
And remember, in those two accounts, heating oil comes out of those accounts, or that one of those accounts.
Yes, it comes out of the
Utilities in
expenses.
general come out of those
building
accounts.
expense, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we can cut back on
Yeah,
heating costs,
that's probably a necessity anyway.
it gives us a better chance to
Yeah.
get through.
Now, the heating comes out of the building maintenance expense. And that was overspent. In fact, we used the full 4,400 last year without a new building. And that's the concern that I voiced. In fact, I look at this whole process and it's, number one, it was not unforeseen. We knew that we would have to end up getting handicapped. That's why I had asked to go to the architectural board to see if they were going to end up taking a hard stand on that, not issuing a waiver, because then, to me, if they were going to close down the building, that might constitute an emergency. But I also have, as I voiced to the board, and unfortunately you had left, there's other priorities that, even if they would advise, the architectural board had closed down the building, the town would have probably come up and got that done in probably a month with some money. I have a bigger concern, and I think I relayed this to you and Holly, is that the electrical wiring in that building, from the time that we inherited from the school, has not complied electrically. And it is sitting there as a big fire hazard to me, which, if that building burned, government wouldn't be operational at all. I'd like to see that addressed, more so probably than taking a look at this, and probably, because I was under the impression at the last selectmen's meeting that I attended, I thought there was somewhat of a consensus that it would be more timely to go into a special town meeting or the annual town meeting for the monies for the handicap bathroom. And that's kind of some of the things that I was looking at, is, and also looking at the fuel accounts for the vehicles.
We're okay with that.
You think that's?
We are.
Even taking the 10% hit on both?
We are, if you look at those accounts as they now stand from the latest budget versus actual, they need to recode some of the debits against the one account. And the reason is, Highway has a new administrative assistant, and she's been coding diesel and gas against one account. And they're going to fix that now. And so those accounts are higher. One of those accounts is significantly higher than it would seem, and one's going to be lower. So, and I talked with the highway superintendent this week, and he feels confident. I'm sorry, I talked to him last Thursday. He feels confident that we're okay, we're going to be okay, particularly because the cost has gone down a lot. So.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, point of clarification. It was just said that we inherited the school building. We did not. The school building does and has always belonged to the town. It is a town building.
It was under school use, that's all.
It was used, right, but he made it sound as if it was under the ownership of the school district, and the only buildings the school district
It was
owns
a town building.
are the
Yeah.
high school and the middle school, yeah.
All right, do you have any other questions?
Yeah. Do we know if the money is approved, how long it would take for these handicap restrooms to be functioning?
Can't give you an exact amount of time, but we've got the plan, we have the contract. And I think another argument for doing it sooner rather than later is we have to fix the cost right now as well. I don't know if costs are going to go up or not, but they often do. And I do know this for certain, that when you have smaller jobs like this, it's much harder to get contractors to do the work in the warmer months. When they sign up bigger projects where frankly their margins are higher. So we have struggled. I mean, I can tell you, for every project that we do, we'll sign a contract and make an agreement, and then Holly or myself has to get on the phone and say, when are you going to perform? When are you going to get this done? And they put us off because other more significant work becomes available. So that's a struggle that I would worry about in the warmer months.
Yeah, I just want to say that, I hate spending the money right now, but, something, the reality is, I think it's something we need to do. I think we owe it to the citizens of the town. I mean, anybody that visits town hall should have the same accommodations, the same abilities, and I think we need to do it. And
I had, 2 points. We do have $50,000 still remaining in our reserve account. We're nearly halfway through the fiscal year. I certainly think we can afford the $15,000. What I want to make sure is can the town afford the additional money? You have 2 letters of intent here. One is for $24,000 and one is for $44,350. You also have a detailed description of the activities to be undertaken as a result of this contract, if approved, and it has an amount of $44,350. I know it's hard to know exactly how much, but there's absolutely no breakdown, and I really would like to have some clue. I know electrical allowance is $5,000, tile $2 per square foot. So there is some guidance here, but I think I'd like to know what the difference is between these two contracts of intent.
There was a difference actually in the two plans. The first plan was actually to take the existing teacher's bathroom, I believe it was, and convert that to a handicap restroom. That requires a lot of knocking down walls and a lot of extra work. The second plan was to take the existing women's and men's room and fix the stalls in there so that there was a handicap stall. That's what happened.
Okay, so that's the less expensive road to take, would be the $24,900.
Yes, and that is the current
All right,
proposal.
so we're not looking at this,
That is
okay,
the current
thank you,
proposal.
thank you.
Okay.
Due to the emergency nature of the funding. One thing that does kind of also, well, obviously we would like to have the accessible restroom for the citizens of the town. One thing that kind of increases the sense of urgency is that we now have at least 5 full-time positions that are currently available, at least 3 of which would be housed, maybe more, would be housed in that building. So by not having a restroom that is accessible, for another year or 9 months or whatnot, that may kind of negatively impact our ability to hire or, and we have the waivers, so we're not breaking the law, but it would be nice when trying to recruit employees to be able to not have to have this as kind of an embarrassing concern that if someone needed an accessible restroom.
All right. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the advisory board approve the transfer of $15,000 from the emergency reserve fund to the town building expense fund.
I have a
Second.
motion to transfer it and a second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
My concerns remain the same, Mr. Chairman. We cut our budget last year to the bone, and I'm assuming that the maintenance budget that we have remaining would be needed. We're not totally sure of the future expenses that we're going to be incurring this year, mainly discussing the fuel, although we may be taking steps to correct that by shutting down one of the buildings in town. It's my opinion that the people in town should always have the privilege and to vote for these kinds of expenditures. In my opinion, this is not an emergency expenditure. We have restrooms, operating restrooms in the new revised town hall. And this expense would be an upgrade to those restrooms. We still haven't successfully gotten through a full year since FY14's financial issues. And that's something that I would really love to see, 1 to 2 years of successful financial operation of this town, and a full understanding of all these accounts and questions that we have. And lastly, we have a temporary waiver to occupy that building for more than a year. That sounds to me like plenty of time to not only put an article on a warrant for a special town meeting or town meeting, to not only upgrade the quality of our bathrooms in the town hall, but do some other things like, I didn't realize the electrical system was not up to code, but there may be a lot of other maintenance things or upgrades we need to consider at the same time. And that's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Markel that there's a likelihood that we wouldn't be able to get this for $24,900 if we wait. It's public construction. It could be subject to the prevailing wage law. It could be problems getting bids. We have somebody willing to do it. I know $24,900 sounds like a lot of money, but I don't think it's a lot of money when you're talking about public facilities and public construction. And it's not just an upgrade of our restrooms, it's equal facilitation. the law is that everybody has to have the same facilitation. And so if somebody goes to the town hall, we have restrooms there for the general public. You could make equal facilitation by shutting down the restrooms in the town hall. That's not a way to go. So I think that what we have to do is we have to make the facilities equal.
I think both these gentlemen have made several good points. May I speak? Thank you.
Yes.
However, if you have someone, at the moment, if someone came into the town hall, say, in a wheelchair, they could not be accommodated without having perhaps some physical help from another person. And even someone on, say, crutches or with a cane would also be at a disadvantage. We do have the money. If we spend the $15,000, at least out of the reserve account, we still have $35,000 left. You know, we've made it through on the two accounts, the building repair and maintenance and the building expense account. We still have slightly more than half of that money left, and we have another $35,000. I know, you know, we can have some terrible unanticipated problems or arise, but it seems like we have the opportunity to get this done. It's one less thing the town has to come up with, and also prices do rise, we know that.
There's risk in everything we do.
Absolutely, that's
Just
life,
how much risk do you want to take?
it's
That's-
called life.
Any other comments? Hearing none. Bernie?
My vote is no.
Kate?
Yes,
Mark?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Will?
Still have the same concerns. No.
And I'll vote yes. Passes 4-2.
great.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, as part of the advisory board adjourned.
Like to share with you?
Good.
Budget process is underway for the next year. I have a little set of guidelines which tell you the dates when we anticipate getting an operating budget proposal to the budget board does hand out. We're also going to be taking a look at insurance. I have some insurance. Printing on two sides.
Thank you.
It's good. Save money.
Insurance, I mean, that's just gonna keep going up, that could kill us.
Also, I want to mention to you that this is all going to go before the selectmen tonight, but I do have an estimate from Central Mass appraisers to request the school building committee to get an appraisal of the property on Hollandville Road that they're interested in, 411. The appraiser, the selectmen agreed to this tonight. They'll be able to do it in 2 weeks. Cost will be $1,750. All familiar with what's going on there.
Is that the 21B?
The 21E is going to be
E, excuse
included if there is a purchase and sale,
Mhm.
and it will be an expense for the owner.
All right, did you check with Time Bond, or, did you receive my email? I know Mr. Robinson did.
What was
You were looking for someone to do the 21E appraisal.
Right.
And I had suggested Time Bond. I did look into another company as well, but David, what's the name, David Ross, is it? I'm not sure. Air, anyway. And they didn't do the 21E, but I know Time Bond would.
If we get to that point, I guess town side will have some input.
Mhm.
The agreement, the tentative agreement that we have is this would have to be qualified contractor to do the 21E.
Yeah, Well, Time Bond is a highly reputable
Right,
firm, sure.
We would have to.
And it doesn't have to be them, it's just that I knew about them.
But that's, we really haven't moved on that.
All right.
That's a downstream thing right now.
Oh, okay. Well, you sent an email out, and you said, anybody have any ideas?
Right, yeah.
So I said,
That was the appraisal.
yeah.
I sent an email out asking if you knew of any companies that could do appraisals. And I ended up calling 3 places, and apparently appraising business is good, because this is the only response I got, and I had to call them 3 times.
Oh, wow.
So, and they said, we can't do it for 2 weeks, because I know the school building committee wants to get things underway, because the owner is, I guess, it's going to be difficult to negotiate.
Since the expense of that 21B would be on the owner, that
Yes.
wouldn't be our concern anyways, right?
No, that's what I was saying. That, there's an agreement that if there is a purchase and sale agreement, 21E expense will be part of the purchase and sale agreement, and it'll be required of the owner to provide.
Questions? On the handout that you had for the insurance, how does that impact the, by bylaw, we have to have an insurance board or committee? And this is, and I see it going to the selectmen, I'm not sure.
If you have one, which it's not clear that we have it. We have it. The process, if you just look carefully through the guidelines, one is to create it. If you look at guideline number 2, the last sentence, you create one, if in fact not one already in existence.
I think
And that becomes, that also becomes.
this becomes the discussion for the time. Selectmen at other meetings, so, and
Mr. Chairman, I move the advisory board adjourn, having concluded our business.
motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
That's it.
I know.
I see.
Oh, this is the copy he has.
Board of Selectmen, begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming out this evening. Our first item agenda is the town administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, an update on the town accountant. We've been through a long process in trying to identify and hire a town accountant. Matt Angel is a consultant who has been with the town. Actually, he's been with the town a year this month. I think he's accomplished a lot and certainly has put our records in good condition. But his company is requiring him to work on their audit business. They have a lot of it. So we have seen him, I would have to say, infrequently in the last month. I've seen him once in 3 weeks. He was supposed to come in today and canceled. So we have some paperwork piling up, and it is urgent that we find a permanent town accountant who can serve the town. We've advertised twice. We have received exactly 1 application. Last advertisement was on the Massachusetts Municipal Association website, several other places, and we listed it for 5 weeks. When we ended up with 1 applicant, I wasn't even going to interview the applicant because this person did not have municipal accounting background. Person does accounting for a nonprofit. I then decided to do an interview. And before I was able to interview her, Matt did. And he conveyed to me that he was very favorably impressed. I interviewed her in the office, and I felt the same way. While not having experience or training in municipal accounting, she has accounting experience on the private side. And given our circumstances, we have one option, I think, at this point. I came away convinced that this individual has all the ingredients of success. Good attitude, determination to get up to speed quickly. And so then I spent some time trying to find how we could provide training. I called Vadar. Vadar provides the accounting software for the town. They've agreed to provide training at their offices in Acton or to send one of their trainers to the town to work directly on our system. I'm satisfied that we can get that done. The transition from to municipal accounting is difficult if you've never had a fund accounting background. This person has a fund accounting background, and so transitioning to the municipal side is going to be significantly easier, and the learning curve is not nearly as steep. I then called around to find if we could provide some training. I called the Hampshire County Council of Governments. I called the Franklin County Council of Governments. Both of those COGs have accounting sections where they actually provide accounting services for towns within Hampshire and Franklin counties. They did not have any, I checked with them earlier, they didn't have any capacity to help us. I asked if they could train. They said, well, no, we can't, but I got a name. Called that person. She finally called me back. No time available. So I then called Mr. Mark Abrahams, who is a private trainer and consultant. He's been in business in Massachusetts for at least 15 years. I actually took a course from you on Chapter 766 years ago, because I couldn't figure it out. And he does specialized training for people in school departments, as well as municipal government, in accounting and treasury services, collecting, and so forth. And he has an excellent reputation. As I said, I've had a course with him, and I was very impressed. And he said that he would send someone here to provide the first steps of training as soon as we hire, and that our person would also be encouraged to take his intensive training course that begins February 9th. This is not an ideal situation, obviously, but I don't know of any other options. We have beaten the bush to try and find somebody, and I think we are into a situation where we're going to have to provide training for someone who I think has all the ingredients of success. I like the little aphorism used by Herb Kelleher, who is the founder of Southwest Airlines, a very successful business. He says, hire for attitude, train for skills. And I think that's where we are at this point. This is our only option, and I believe, I want to say publicly, I think it's a good option. And it can be, I think it has potential for providing some stability in the finance office for the town as well. To add to the problems we have, because Matt has not been able to come to the office. We not only have business piling up, he has not, as far as I know, been able to complete the first priority task that I gave to him right after the town meeting, the special town meeting, and that is get the balance sheet done, get it into the Department of Revenue, and get Schedule A done. And told me he would do it, but he canceled today, said he'll come in tomorrow. I'm going to have a conversation tomorrow, and if it isn't getting done, I talked with Mark Abrahams. He will send a person out here to do it and get it into the Department of Revenue so that we can have a tax classification hearing on the 15th of December, set our tax rate, and get our tax bills out before the end of December, which is the normal time that they should be sent. So, situation hasn't gotten better in terms of services in the last couple of months. But, I think we're on the road to fixing it.
Should I
Yes.
interject here?
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to disclose that the applicant that Bob's been talking about happens to be my sister.
He won't, I'm sure that he won't, right, won't vote on the
We're not
matter.
voting. I'm just disclosing that she is my sister. The only reason I told her to apply is because she has done very similar things to what we're needing for the American Red Cross. She worked for them for a number of years, straightened out many of their chapters that were financially unstable, and brought them around and got them back in good shape. So I told Bob that and said that, do not, take that into any kind of account. I just wanted to disclose it. She, is got to be interviewed, earn the job if she deserves it on her own, and keeps the job based on her own merits, not by any lineage. But, and again, anything that comes up for a vote regarding the accounting office, I will certainly abstain from, but I just wanted to bring that out to everybody's attention, and I'll file a disclosure with the town clerk.
For my part, the first rule that everyone who wants to be a town administrator or a town manager or city manager is trained to is that you provide value to a community because you hire the best people available. That's the ethic that I believe in, and that's what I'm attempting to do. I don't do patronage. I wrote a long email to the selectmen over the weekend explaining that I think this is the right decision. I will stand by it. If it is the wrong decision, if something doesn't work out according to my plan, everyone has 6 months of probation, as you know. So, but I believe it's going to work, and I'm sure there will be some in the community who will take a cynical attitude about this, but I would just say in return, what options do we have? I think this is a good option, and I think it'll work, and I think it does provide an opportunity for the town to have confidence and some stability over time to get the job done. Enough said. Council on the Aging Director. I met with the Council on the Aging Board today, and I had some advice on an appointment of an interim director, which I've done. The board feels strongly that they should collectively become the COA director for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be probably 2 weeks maybe 3, until we have a permanent COA director. So The organization obviously can't go headless for that, even that period of time. So they, with Charlene Arsenault, their board chair, are going to act collectively as the COA director, and Charlene will oversee the day-to-day operations of that board until a permanent director can be selected and hired. Also, you know, actually, the item right below, it says COA building. It shouldn't say COA, it should be Town Hall building. That's about, you know, what we just did with the advisory board, requested the funds so that we can do the handicap bathrooms and be in compliance and provide accessible facilities for those who come to the town hall. I had a meeting with the highway superintendent. He has 2 vehicles out of service. We have 1 new vehicle in service, that's the loader. The loader can be used to plow snow. It has to be outfitted with a plow and something called a coupler and ears. The total cost of that is going to be $11,800. We have no options to purchase. However, if we don't do this, certainly the plowing is going to be compromised. We had 13 drivers in the past. This year we have 10. So it's going to mean a slowdown in snow plowing and removal if we have to do snow removal. And so, again, for lack of any other option, you know, they say management means you make choices and decisions among options. It seems like more and more we have one option, and that is, in this case, to use the snow and ice account to get the new loader outfitted with a plow so that we can provide better service this winter. So I guess I would like to have the board's view of that and a vote if you agree or not.
Would anybody like to speak to that?
You can, I don't really know enough about the snow and ice account, if someone can please.
Snow and ice
explain
account is
that to
going to
me.
go into deficit this year.
We can deficit spend that, right?
Yes,
But
it's
do you
legal.
normally purchase equipment out of
You can do that,
You-
yes, because it's related
Okay.
to snow and ice operations.
Okay,
You can do it, you try not to.
Yeah, we try not
because
to.
right.
It comes out of next year's money.
So it's kind of like
You deficit-
borrowing? Borrowing?
Right.
It goes on the cherry
So the
sheet.
money comes from,
From money we will get next year. So it's digging the hole deeper.
right? Or what do we,
That's what Bob is saying, we don't have any options.
We don't have an option, although if we have a good year, let's say.
what's a good year, like not getting a lot of snow, you mean?
There are a variety of ways we could have a good year, but let me just, if we have money available at the end of this fiscal year, we can cover. We can transfer and cover. But legally, every city and town is allowed to
Deficit
spend
spend.
whatever is required to remove snow, and you cover it on the cherry sheet the next year. For example, we covered 51,000 on the cherry sheet
Yeah.
in fiscal 15.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
It's just, I mean, this coupled with the increase in the salt,
So,
what we budgeted is gone.
and then what about the decreases to the state? They're making cuts
That's
to-
next.
I know, what I'm just, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So, I mean, I just wanted to make sure I understood before I say.
Do you want to vote on this after we talk about,
I guess I would like to know everything before I say,
okay.
I don't,
That works for me.
Well, to keep,
does that work?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
No, that's fine.
keep the cascading
in my
bad
head,
news
like,
coming.
like all that stuff spinning
Right.
around.
No, it adds up, it
Yeah.
adds up quickly, yeah.
Yeah, so you need deficit spend and then we're, okay.
Well, we've been hit with a 40% increase in the cost of salt.
Right, well, yeah,
And that's going to dent the snow and ice budget. I think all we can hope for is to have less snow than normal this year.
Can we vote on that?
Can we cancel the storm?
Issue an executive order.
Right, yeah.
So, that 40% increase, honestly, I don't have any numbers on me, do you, Julie? Like, how much is that affecting the, like, what we had budgeted, and now it's gonna,
Right.
is that,
I think we
do you know?
budgeted 125.
okay,
The increase in salt compared to the amount of salt we normally use
yeah.
would come out to, I think, 110.
Actually, when we figured it out, it was 120.
Wow.
Okay,
So,
sorry.
We have $5,000 to plow snow,
All right.
given the normal amount of salt that we use
Mhm.
per year. So, what I can say is that, we can manage this as best we can. I am not pessimistic that we can't manage this budget. We're trying to manage the fuel account, which is what we've been
Yeah.
doing, and I
saw
think we
that,
can
too.
do that. I think we can do it. If it means some hard decisions, we can do it. Managing this is going to be a lot harder, but one way we can manage it is to try and save in other areas and cover at the end of the year with transfers.
Okay.
Yeah, and snow removal, I mean, it's a critical thing. I mean, everybody
I agree.
depends on it, everybody's got to get to work, so it's a critical thing. We have to do it.
Could be worse, it could be in Buffalo.
That's right.
Oh,
Okay, do we want to move on to do you want to discuss
Okay,
the
9C cuts.
and-
We are not yet certain what's going to happen. Senator Brewer's office, with whom I talked today, Ryan, said that they are confident that the $300,000 set aside for the Council on the Aging will not be cut in this process. As far as the 9C cuts to local aid, the number that I saw was 25 million statewide. It's spread over 351 cities and towns. That's modest. We're not talking about deep cuts. If in fact it happens, and the speaker said no, he's not going to support it. In order for the governor to undertake 9C cuts, he's got to get legislation through both houses. So I guess he'll try that. If it fails, Governor Baker is going to have to deal with the issue. But right now, it hasn't happened. Even if it does, I think 25 million over all the cities and towns would mean something fairly modest for us. My guess would be less than $20,000.
okay.
That's not insignificant, certainly.
No, not in our town.
No. The playground contract, Senator Brewer was successful in getting $85,000 for playground equipment. We have been calling and requesting that contract, and so far, state office has not sent the contract. They're going to send us the contract. We have the money, it's committed, but they just can't seem to churn out the contract. And so I'm just mentioning this because Al Mayo has done the work, and he says now some bills are coming in. So there again, I called Senator Brewer's office last week and said, can you get this done? So they're working on it. Now, park employees are going to be cut 32 hours for the winter months. And there is typically an overtime budget in the Cemetery and Park Department of about $2,000, which was eliminated in the budget process. The town has used this modest overtime budget to permit park and cemetery employees to shovel the walkways to town buildings, 8 of them, and also to plow out the cemetery. That will be done, but because it can't be done on overtime, it will be done on regular time. I don't expect that this is going to be a big problem, but it could be a problem for us this week. Because if we have snow on Wednesday, holiday Thursday, holiday Friday, weekend, the
plowing and shoveling is not going to be done until Monday, under these circumstances. There again, I don't know if there's any other choices there, other than to run a deficit there, and that's not legal, so. The appraisal, I passed out to you, I talked with 3 appraisal companies, asked all 3 to send a proposal. Only one has done so, Central Mass Appraisals, which was recommended by several people. There's been a delay there because the owner of the company was on vacation and then came back and went to Maine and was doing teaching, so I really wasn't able to connect with him until the last couple days. And so he did call me, I think, on Friday and said, you can send a proposal. This one arrived. It was in my email this morning, $1,750. They're requesting half of it up front, and that would be for appraising 411 Baldwinville Road, which is being considered by the school building committee as the location of a new elementary school. If you're agreeable to this, I would say sign and off we go. He said once he gets the signed document, it'll be 2 weeks until they can get it done. This is not going to be ideal because the owner of the property is going to go off to Florida. And the agreement that the superintendent and I had when we met with him was that the town simply can't go and buy a piece of property at the asking price. We typically look at assessed value for tax purposes. We get an appraisal, then we want to sit down and talk and see if we can come up with an agreed upon price. So this is the process that if you sign this, will be underway.
Can you have them fix it?
Pardon?
It's not to our town. I don't think we should sign something that's not to our, I know it seems like minor, but,
No, it's not.
so can you ask them to fix
Maybe we
that?
can
and
just
then
cross
can
it
just-
out.
Maybe Ashland.
Send the bill to Ashburn.
Can you have them fix that, if you don't mind?
Well,
And
I
then-
guess they have a lot of work down there because it took a while to get there.
They are very busy.
If you agree to it, I will, I'll either tell them to make the correction or I'll make the correction. I think, no, this is a PDF file, I have to
Yeah,
convert
you're
it.
not gonna be able to.
I'll figure out how to do it and I'll sign it if you vote to approve.
I will make a
Can I-
motion that,
Can I ask a question?
if either way it works.
Yeah.
What does it mean by restricted use appraisal?
Oh,
I've never
boy.
seen that
That's,
term before.
those are all like rules and stuff for, just appraisers in general, fire area, and use path, and restricted use means it's on a commercial piece of property, or it's for a specific intent, is my understanding. It's not like, just, I'm gonna go appraise Julie's house or your house. That's normal, everyday common, but restricted use is, you really kind of have to, what I was thinking is, are there other places that have built school buildings and on what grounds and what is, that's what I believe it means by restricted use. So that it's not just for every, it's gonna be for a limited scope, or for the scope that they're saying.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, are you gonna?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we enter into an agreement with Central Mass Appraisers to appraise 411 Baldwinville Road for the purposes of an elementary school for no more than $1,750.
Do I have a second? So I have a first and a second. Yeah, just 1 second. Discussion from the board first? If not, yes.
Is that the same company that owns that piece of land on Central Mass?
Owns?
They own a big piece of land right across from 252 Marlboro Road, plus the other piece of land. There's 2 pieces of land for sale. Central Mass is going, and Rosanna's going.
It's a piece of land for sale with a for sale sign on it?
There's 2 pieces of land, that's right. The first one
They're
is-
for sale though, correct?
Okay, the next one down is a lot next between O'Brien's house and it says Central Mass Realty.
Right, that's an
But that's a different
entirely
Central
different
Mass.
organization.
This is Central Mass
That's a
Appraisals.
real estate company. This is an appraisal
They got
company.
80 acres of land.
They're not even the same.
They're different companies, they just both happen to have.
They just happen to
Central
have the
Mass
same
Appraisers
name.
of Leominster.
Yeah.
The Central Mass real estate companies out of Leominster too, but they're not the same people at all. They're two different proprietors, they're not the same.
Is there any other discussion? If not, we can vote on accepting the appraisal. Julie?
Yes.
Doug? Yes. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Diane?
I mean Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
Who seconded that?
John?
John.
Thank you.
Okay, just a couple more items. Representatives of the Division of Local Mandates from the Auditor's Office, State Auditor's Office, were in town today. Julie had contacted them, and we arranged the meeting to discuss the closing of Templeton Development Center and whether or not the shifting of services from state agencies to the town constitutes an unfunded mandates in violation of Prop 2.5. We didn't get any conclusive answer there, but the sense was that we're not going to get a ruling of that type. But they did certainly give us some guidance on what we ought to be doing. And I guess the first recommendation was that the town should require Commonwealth to prove that Freight Shed Road is an accepted public way of the town. Bud seems to think that it isn't. It looks like TDC has been there since the 1890s. Was it an accepted public way prior to the 1890s? Well, the records there are not so easy to find. TDC says, yes, they had some information from Worcester County offices, from the registry, I guess. They didn't show us anything on paper. We didn't show them anything on paper. But the recommendation of the Division of Mandates, local mandates, was that we should demand that they prove to us that this is a town way or town road. And if not, if there's no proof of that, then town services need not be provided there for that street. That's the way.
That's what I understood,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
I was up there today, I see it put into other septic systems now, and back at some of the buildings in the commission. The first building going up there with the Tufts University got their dental supply, I see they put a new septic system in there today, new leach fields and stuff. Is that been reported to anybody? No. Come and take a look, I was up there today. The first building on the left, across the new building, they are putting in a new septic system in them buildings too.
They did tell us that they were going to install septic
Yeah.
for the residences there.
For the residency, but this is the other buildings that they were going to disband, but the Tufts Medical Center, Tufts has a place there for dentists and stuff. And the back there, they put new septic systems in there. Is that Board of Health up there to check on or anything? Anybody know anything about that?
The Board of Health has no jurisdiction.
They have me right.
Well, they
We
do what
asked
they
about
want.
that.
They might have top of the road. They put
The
they want.
state has the jurisdiction.
Oh,
Yes, John.
If I recollect correctly, Senator Brewer told me that as part of the deficiency budget,
Yes.
that there was language included in there that said that the state would retain responsibility for Freight Shed Road after we,
Until June 30th.
no, that they will permanently.
Yeah.
The group that we've been working with agreed till June 30th, but I believe there's language in there that precludes us having to take it over on July 1.
I think you're right.
I think
We
he
did
was
see it,
trying
he
to-
distributed it, but what their
I don't
attorney
know
told
if
us
that
today,
passed.
that it didn't
Do you
make it
remember
all
that,
the way.
Julie?
Now,
I don't think it did.
I think will have to ask about that. Our next meeting, like
next
when we all meet
December.
together, is December 1st, and we are gonna have it at Camelot. I did verify that, I asked if
Oh,
they would
yes.
do it, yes.
Okay.
And I probably have forgotten to send a message to Patty Lyons, but I'll make sure I go home and do that. So just so you know, I
So
know you had
10
come
a.m.?
before, and John had come.
Well,
So maybe we
clearly
should
we
ask
need to
that.
clarify that, because their attorney said that the language was not there in the final version, and that it...
Did Senator Brewer
Well, you
say
mean the
that?
local mandate attorney?
Yes,
She was talking about the supplemental budget. She wasn't talking about the deficiency budget.
right, right. So then I gave her a copy of what I had, so...
All right.
Yeah, Phillipston comes to,
Phillipston was there last week.
yep, the last time we met.
That road,
Everybody's been coming,
that
there's,
road originally started, went from West Road right across.
yep,
That's where they want to put a...
Someone had said that, too.
Halfway houses. There's prisons built, wide that road all up and stuff. That was the West Road originally. You take the old roads and back to the town dump this, Crow Hill, they all went up through the different angles than the road that this here, that they own, that we own.
Bud Chase had been doing some research, and he had some paperwork, and I think he had gone to the town clerk's office to maybe like go into the vault, and if I remember correctly, but,
Kirk, did you
Well, I
have?
know the language was in the deficiency budget from the Senate,
Right.
right,
which is what I gave her, if you remember this afternoon, but...
Well, I'm thinking it passed the conference committee too, if I recall what he told me correctly.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Yes, Kirk.
Why was the meeting located in Moving instead of at the TDC? It's going to be at Camelot, is that?
because the room,